But maybe, just maybe, Hawk, our predictions will change after seeing what's cooking here, especially, interestingly enough, with Fluxo having taken away Ivern and Poppy. They talked about forcing Aegis onto Kha'Zix in their last matchup. They may be trying to do something similar here.
Yeah, and lots of power picks up and available for these squads as well. Rel, Kai'Sa, we've seen these champions so frequently traded back and forth. Other ones, the facilitator junglers, specifically Sejuani and Maokai. Dasami's has basically been a tank one trick for the last few weeks of CBLOL, and with good reason. He's done such a brilliant job of, we talked about Red having too many cooks in the kitchen, but just really hard playing towards House and towards Brunsey and propping those two up as the main carries.
So now that Kai'Sa's been locked in, as you say, big question here is whether you take your jungler now or save it for round 3. It looks like that's not going to happen. Sejuani picked up the Maokai, and response is perfectly on brand for both of these junglers. Aegis, interestingly enough, does have, specifically with the Sejuani, a little bit more quick engage to be able to work with, and Aphelios on the other side. Also, to me, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's a little surprising not seeing Xayah coming out. That has been the traditional counter into the Kai'Sa, but, I mean, come on. It's Brunsey. This guy's Aphelios is disgusting, exactly. And now with Aegis on the Sejuani as well, you've got the facilitator jungler, Kha'Zix no more. Support has been dropped by Red in favor of this Renekton and Blind pick for FNB. This will open up Ty towards a counter pick, but I'm expecting R5 mid for Envy against House, who we haven't really talked too much about House on this pregame, Dia, but House has been terrific the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, been playing really well, and I expect nothing less from mid laners like House and Envy. They almost neutralize each other in this matchup as a result, because they both are really good mechanical mid laners that as a result just don't shine when compared to the impact that AD Carry has had in this meta. Now, however, one of them is going to have to be in a bit of a tough situation. Mid lane can still be held for a solo pick, especially if Red choose to lock in a support here, as I think they should.
Yeah, Alistar would be what I would expect, especially with Rakan and Nautilus banned out. It's been the traditional counter pick into the Rel. It just is favorable in the 2v2, synergizes as well with the Kai'Sa. And Dio, we've got tank supports on both sides, lots of team fighting traded back and forth, very similar compositions for both teams, and the name of the game so far is going to be team fighting. So what I'm looking at in these last few picks is really just who can build the superior team fight comp. This isn't going to be a game 1 through 4 ones. It's not going to be 1 through a 1-3-1. It's going to be all about the 5-on-5. So which team can get the damage and the scaling necessary.
Yeah.
I love this Rumble from Ty. He had a stellar performance on it last week. It's been cropping up into the meta, and Ty, we'll see what he's able to do on it.
Especially with what a monster Rumble is in the mid game, where, as Fluxo have identified, Red appear to be weakest. This is a really nice pickup that'll let you bridge the gap between Aphelios' early game and the then late game that we also know that he's a monster on. Nico, I'll be honest with you, Hawk, it just makes sense, works really well with the composition, provides a little bit of CC, and Nico good.
You know, Nico should have won against Red Canids last week, and yet Houdini pulled another rabbit out of his hat as Red was able to outscale Loud and take them down, but I love this a lot. It's another more mid-game centric pick. The Ahri in response. So both these teams, they've indexed a little bit towards mid-game team fighting, but the biggest thing that sticks out to me, Fluxo, I think they're packing a bit more damage in their composition. Aphelios, Rumble, Nico, very high damage trio of carries, whereas Red looking a little bit more for those picks, a little bit more for those instant one-shots. They're gonna have their work cut out for them against a stalwart front line of Maokai Rel.
Exactly as you say, where Fluxo have damage, they lack single target pick. 4x4, I'm going to bring you back in because now that we've got our drafts all set up, do you want to change your prediction or are you doubling down on Red?
I mean, I do like Fluxo's draft war. But I like that you have given now FNB the Renekton. I mean, this dude literally is my favorite fun fact to bring up. In the Burn It All Down music video, the 2021 World Song, every player was featured as their token champion. FNB got a shout out in that video as the Renekton. I want to see this dude smash somebody into the top lane. That's what I'm looking forward to, but I do like Fluxo's draft a little bit better. But Hawk, you nailed it. This is about team fight. Right? That's where both these teams want to shine. And from when we literally just came on air to afterwards, we have bookended it with this is going to be decided in the late game.
Most certainly. It most certainly will be. And particularly these AD carries. Aphelios against Kai'Sa. Hyper-scaling ADs for Titan or Brunsey. MVP race on the line. First seed in playoffs on the line, gentlemen. These two teams. I mean, what more could we ask for? I think even though I like Fluxo's draft just that little bit better, I think it's very even. And yeah, I would imagine you're on a similar page. It's really just going to come down to this execution.
It is, and a big part of this is going to be FNB's flexibility as well. I love that you call him out for being featured 4x4, but Renekton can play really differently, especially into the Rumble matchup, where we could see fireworks. So, let's see how it plays out now that we're on to the Rift.
No early shenanigans as of yet. Of course, level 1s for champions like Alistar, not exactly the best. You're really relying on getting that experience, getting those spells, and both teams just gonna hang out, have a good time, and really, again, just already emphasizing that team fight importance. Speaking a little bit more on the draft as well, Dia, I know somewhere in the green room, Axeman is screaming at the fact that I like Ty picking Rumble. This guy does not like this champion, but look, I can't lie. I like a nice, good mid-game team fight carry for the top laner of Fluxo this game.
It really works, and as I said in the draft, slots in fantastically to bridge the gap between Fluxo's early and late game. It should be able to dissuade a lot of red engages, but especially in this situation, we also have to consider how much mobility is on red's side. Equalizer will not be nearly as impactful when I count everybody on red having a dash. It's got to be like pixel perfect.
It certainly does need to be very, very good. Now, when you got as much lockdown as Fluxo has, I think that makes up a little bit of the difference, but you definitely can't just be throwing that one down willy-nilly in the middle of the river. You got to pick your moment for sure. And I think, interestingly, both these junglers going for a mismatch clear, starting on their red buffs, which could lead to some imbalances on the map in this early game. Bot matchup definitely going to be the most important one, but if you can get something like your Rumble, your Nico, your Renekton, your Ahri ahead early on, and create another pressure point, these mid games could just become explosive enough that the AD carries aren't really allowed to come online.
I'm expecting that they will. As you say, like, mid-game is where Fluxo is going to be focusing. Thomas will be able to make his way up towards the top half of his jungle just as Aegis starts coming down, so junglers not going to be mirroring each other in this case, have very different plays to make, but down the bot side we're already skirmishing with red actually starting that trade and ultimately still getting a pretty decent chunk off.
Yeah, really well played by JoJo, actually. So the reason why Alistar is favored in this matchup is because he has a really strong ability to stop the rel engage, but you can see JoJo right there, instantly dismounting as soon as he has it available, looking for that single target CC that is less easily interrupted by the Alistar, and getting a favorable trade. See, Frosty's going to go in, but this return trade is going to be big.
Nice double knock-up. Aftershock does save Frosty a little bit, but Ignite chunks him down just that touch more. Red getting aggressive in the bot lane isn't favoring them health-wise, but it is helping them push in the wave. A quick invade from FNB does keep Dasamis honest, and it's earned, given how well FNB is managing the wave up top.
There's a Crocodile in Dasamis' jungle, but now Aegis knows that Dasamis isn't there, and all the trading of bottom lane means that JoJo and Brunsey are chunked. The timer, though, just barely missed as the minions die off, meaning no dive to come through from red. Perhaps a missed opportunity from our #1 seed early on. Aegis still lurking.
Got a little while left to make this work. I would still be hesitant about this, but Alistar is the champion that'll make it all the easier. Now that you've got Infernum, though, Brunsey can clear this wave. Insta-flash from Frosty. Follows up with the cleanse out of Brunsey. He flashes away, securing first blood. Brunsey turns it all around. JoJo's still alive, and it's another return kill as House teleports into the bot lane.
What a beautiful play from Fluxo. Information is everything in League of Legends, and their carries each picked up a kill, traded only for one on Sejuani of all things, Dia.
That was such a nice play from Fluxo,
in the cross
turning
map.
things around, and now Desamis gets to make a play up towards the top side. This is easy lockdown. FNB has one stun to trade. Desamis, however, after tanking that singular tower shot, is going to back away. The damage, in a way, done, as FNB has been zoned out of some of the minions that have crashed up against this tower, and you don't want to waste any more time in the top lane.
What beautiful restraint from Fluxo. The reason why they didn't go for that dive, there was a ward that spotted Frosty on the rotation by Raptors. Fluxo backs off, does not give away any kills of their own, and will just sit on this advantage as look again at how well played this dive is. Fluxo knows exactly what is coming. When it is coming, Red, they decide to go anyway. And Frosty gets a nice CC combo on the Brunty, but the cleanse on the Ignite and then the flash backwards. Sejuani's damage not able to come through fast enough. Titan ends up tanking, and Howls with the flash follow trades a second one back, and the gold allocation is already better for Fluxo. Sure, Brunty may have missed a few minions for it, but you're more than happy with that.
And, I mean, Frosty tried his best. Frosty tried his heart out, knowing that with the Infernum, Bronze was going to be able to burn through the wave and deny the tower dive once again. But it's just way better of a trade for Fluxo. Level 6 is hitting the top side. Tay now has a little bit more available to him, and the flash from Envy doesn't actually mean the charm connects. Remember, House was flashless and was just able to fancy foot that.
Yeah, and House is feeling himself right there. A little bit of emote BM. Getting in Envy's head a little bit, and it's Fluxo. For the second time in a row, this split, they're off to a bit of an advantage against Red. Now, it's still very early, and the gold is even, but their position in this game is fantastic. Red, they're going to leverage their early priority on the bottom side of the map to at least take a dragon and get something for themselves, but Fluxo, they're going to be fine with this. All their mid game is on the top side of the map, around this Rumble, around this Nico. They don't have to fight for this if they don't want to, but it just is getting fairly low, so maybe they do.
Single Chemtech Dragon, not going to matter too much, but it will really matter if JoJo gets caught. A nice flash dismount takes him out to safety. Rel covering a lot of ground.
So I've seen a lot of teams in the CBLOL do this, where one team starts Dragon based on priority, and the other team can't decide whether or not they want to contest, and somebody either loses a summoner spell or dies basically for free, and that's exactly what happened. Fluxo, they're like, hey guys, do we want to contest? I don't know. Let's go poke our heads in. And then JoJo just forced to flash away. Good on him for keeping his life, but a bit of a mistake means that that big summoner spell won't be available for the next fight.
And that next fight could very well occur around Rift Herald. It'll be coming up in about a minute. Tay and FNB have been pretty silent in this game, but as we noted, have hit level 6. And with Tay's Equalizer that can change mid-game fights, we may not be there just yet, but there's still a whole lot of a punch packed by that ability.
And now Dasami's setting up on the top side of the map. Herald spawning in 30 seconds, gonna knock down that Scuttle Crab. Wards in the river as well. See if Red wants to fight for this. I could see them just trying to cross-map some sort of dive on the bottom side and not wanting to contest against the Rumble Nico early on, but Fire Redacted, no slouches in this stage of the game themselves, so let's see where they end up going, as items just very even across the board. And despite how well Fluxo played the first 7.5 minutes of this game, things remain very close.
So now that you've spotted Red moving up the river as well, it's almost in the advantage of Fluxo to just avoid the Rift Herald and go instead for a counterplay on Red. There's already one being made as Brunse and JoJo get to push up for a few extra minions, but this rotation out of Titan and Frosty has to be to help Aegis secure the Rift Herald.
Yeah, Aegis is just on that, so it's actually going to be Fluxo giving this one up. I'm not a huge fan of this when you are the team with the Rumble. I think it's... I don't know, I feel like not fighting around this time of game with Rumble always just leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Fluxo, they're coming up now. Maybe they could try to pick a couple stragglers on the way out. That's indeed going to be the plan, as that's a flash.
Double knockdown! Oh my god, Aegis' health bar is obliterated. It may not have been a fight, but an extra couple gold you'll absolutely take as Fluxo.
You know what? That's perfectly fine for them. They got the plates on the bottom side and a kill. Sure, you dropped the Herald, but the gold really just going onto the critical members. That's one for Ty. The plate is answered, so overall very, very even play, and things still on a razor's edge 9 minutes in.
Envy trading this back is important, but gold on RA, Little bit tough to manage. House gets aggressive again. Insta-cleanse out of Titan, but that is still a lot of damage that Nico's able to do very quickly.
Yeah, that was damage that would make Phil Swift proud, I think, Dia, as that was indeed a lot of damage, but that's an all-in.
I think he's going to be able to get out of this. Still has Splash as well, but now that Aegis is joined up, ult's not going to be expended. Tay does get out scot-free. Remember, still has Equalizer if he wants to use it to clear the wave. Can back off with the teleport available. We'll see how he chooses to play this, but right now he's playing with fire.
Wow, yeah, Ty just walking up. I would have expected him to just ult the wave, but no big deal. Just gonna clear that one out, not get dove, and he's A-okay. And Dia, we said this game would be all about the team fights, and it's definitely looking like that is where we are headed in a dead-even game. Carry starting to come online. Fluxo, their gold allocation may be slightly better, but it's close enough where still the only thing that matters is going to be execution. We've got Dragon spawning in a minute 15. Herald still in the pockets of Red as well. We'll see how they're able to utilize that big objective to try to transition, get themselves pressure on a wave, and then move down towards this other neutral. Would expect it to go towards the mid lane. Obviously, you'd like to get the gold onto Titan if you can, but I think the mid priority really going to be more important than anything if your goal is to stack dragons.
I love this phrase out of Tay as well. He knows that he's drawing up Aegis with a move like that, and that's after FNB expended the teleport to get up to top side. Samus, meanwhile, sitting down on the bot side, is going to start off the play. In comes the Nature's Grasp, double knockdown, plus the knockup from JoJo, but Titan manages to survive, repositioning with the Killer Instinct, and picking up the kill on JoJo. Teleport in, Fluxo don't want to give this up, but it is a long, drawn-out battle that finally claims the life of Titan. Frosty still alive under the tower with Envy rotating down. This could be terrible! Brunson picks up the kill, instant cleanse out of him, and Envy has committed, retreating underneath the tower. Fluxo thinking about going at it again. They need a little bit of knockdown into Samus.
No
Isn't that the cooldown up? Grabs him. The minion's gone. Brunson gets taken down by the tower. Samus in between turrets will fall as well, and Red strike back.
Oh, it was a great play for Fluxo until they overdove. House still lurking though, has a root.
Oh my god. He's got a lot of damage. That's a big shutdown for House. Cheers, Fluxo. Got something back.
House is now 3-0-2, and Dia, can I just say that Brunsy and Frosty are having an absolute hands check in the bottom side of the map, as I cannot wait to see a replay of that fight. But the problem is, Dia, the action might not be over just yet, as it's Red. They're back out on the map first because they died faster. They're the ones onto this dragon, a plate taken by Titan in mid, and we are gonna see this, as watch how well Frosty plays this initial disengage. Blocking for Titan, who has no cleanse. Titan able to flash away. Frosty, unbreakable will, punts Brunsy out of the fight, and is just body blocking in front of everyone. But now it's Brunsy's turn to pop off as soon as Envy shows up. Ari's gonna come in from Fog of War, and the reaction time on the combo with the flash and then the cleanse, getting out of all of the CC. What a beautiful play. From this point, sure, Fluxo, it's a pretty egregious overdive, giving over 2 more kills, but they got what they wanted. They denied the wave from Titan, and overall, I suppose it's an even play, Dia.
This was so greedy from everyone. Like, even at the end, Envy walking up to the wave is greedy, but that's what we get. Looks to try and take the maximum, and Red want to give nothing up. House is still skirmishing in the bot side. This time in a 1v2 that he ends up walking away from.
And Dia, I still think the critical story is that Titan is behind 1-2-1. Sure, his farm is good, but compared to Brunsy and House, these carries for Fluxo are just so accelerated. And when we've highlighted this bot matchup as such a point of power on the map for both teams, this could really matter as we move towards these fights in the mid-game. We didn't get one for that dragon. Red was able to pick it up uncontested. But Infernal Soul, you know both these teams are going to be looking to fight for those soon.
Don't let it go underestimated as well that Tay is having to sit back away from his tower as FNB is able to walk up. Renekton, feeling really confident now that he's picked up a little bit of magic resist, is starting to skew the way that this game goes. First tower likely to fall in the top side as nobody can actually challenge FNB.
Wow. Yeah, it is just gone. It's completely given over. How's even lane swapping up to this side of the map? That is a very large advantage going the way of Red. Maybe the first unanswered advantage we've seen the entire game, Dia. So it is the Red Canids. Despite how well Fluxo has fought, they are ahead in this game. They're in a very comfortable position. Fluxo to outplay them. And Dia, I do want to just take a moment as well. Frosty, he may be 0-2-2 on this Alistar. The scoreline is not impressive, but make no mistake, if you're a viewer at home, this has been an absolutely monster game from the support of Red so far, playing out of his mind on the cow, despite the low kill participation so far. Keeping Titan and the rest of his team in this game, I think way more than he's had any right to, and maybe even House out of this fight.
Teleport in from the back line as well means that FNB is joining, and House has to use the ultimate on disengage, get 3 knockups, and the re-engage from JoJo as well. Huge Infernum from Brunse, but the damage doesn't seem to stick as FNB catapults himself into the front line, healing so much. Triple knockup out of Frosty, and Envy is being chased down. That little bit of extra damage, the constant CC from first House, then JoJo, and the damage that followed from Brunse, it wins Fluxo the fight.
It's the aforementioned Frosty finding a potential pick on the House, but that AoE from Fluxo was disgusting. Red, we said it in draft, their composition is built to find the one shot. They could not, and Fluxo's AoE was overwhelming as they win the fight for the second Rift Herald. They don't opt to go for the neutral, but it's mid-tier 1 instead.
God, Infernal feels so good. Check out the damage charts on the bottom of your screen. Brunse, he's looking for the MVP. He's hungry for it, as you mentioned earlier. That's the real sub-story, the sub-battle that's going on during the course of this game. Brunse versus Titan. Who can carry harder right now in that fight? Brunse certainly making a good argument. But remember, House and JoJo have been integral, and JoJo starts off the fight once again knowing that he has Tay on backup.
It's a really big flash blown for basically nothing, and with the chunk under Frosty, I don't think this Herald is contestable. Aegis, is your Q up? You've got to get out of this pit, my friend, as Fluxo is more than happy to take this. Look, their ults are all coming back up in about 10 seconds, and the Red Canids, it's just going to be a reset. The game, the pendulum of this match has swung back in Fluxo's direction once again.
It's a good timing for a reset, though, because Dragon is spawning in 24 seconds, and Fluxo aren't going to be able to pull off a complete one before the objective arrives. JoJo's managed to back, getting a little bit more vision, re-upping on control wards, so that there's some sort of play that Fluxo can make, but right now, they have zero, and I mean zero, vision around Dragon.
And face checking into this Fluxo position is so dangerous. I've already mentioned how devastating their AoE, we saw it, can be in these fights. Walking through a choke against Malachi Rel Rumble? No thank you, my friend.
FNB, Dominus right on top of Tay. They need to take out Rumble before the fight, and they do. Titan cleans him up, but the Dragon is being burned. Aegis waiting in the wings to try and engage on this Frosty. Ready as well. This is a 4v5 in favor of Red, and FNB still on the flank. House threatens the engage. Frosty disengage instead, and Red pick up the third Dragon of the game. This is Soul Point. This is Infernal Soul on the horizon for the Red Canids.
Really well played fight from Red. You can't walk through Fluxo's comp, so what do? You switch up the battleground. They go for Ty in the side lane instead and use their numbers advantage to barrel down the river, take Soul Point. They get bot lane tier 1, is traded for a tier 2, but Red, they're going to be perfectly fine with that sequence.
Fluxo is always striking back by claiming the mid lane tower. As you said, Red got what they came for, but Fluxo aren't walking away with nothing. And Brunse continues to get more superpowered as the game goes on. This late game Aphelios win condition is going to be ever on the horizon, especially if they can line up another team fight as they did around the Rift Herald. 18 minutes into the game. We've got a little while left until a couple more major objectives come in. So this should be where Fluxo try and sit back, and Red might try and force something. Let's see how they did it around the last Dragon.
So again, it's just impossible to walk into any sort of choke point in the river, and it's just Ty being in a place where he really shouldn't be. You don't need to walk through that way. could take a safer path to get into your back line with the equalizer being so long range. And Red, again, it's a really excellent punish. Fantastic decision-making from our #1 team.
And it is, on paper, a little bit surprising that we get 2 ults expended for that kill. Tay didn't really want to acknowledge that that was even a possibility, but things like Killer Instinct especially, really easily expendable, relatively short cooldown, and in large part, not part of what makes Kai'Sa deal a lot of damage in team fights. It's a nice reposition tool, so Red are being a little bit more liberal with that, and Titan absolutely recognizing when it is the time to kill. Fluxo, posture for the moment, clearing out a little bit of vision. That's what their game's going to be about at this particular moment in time, and Envy and House should be trading waves, but if Envy wants to get a little bit aggressive, Charm should connect now if he wants to use it, and forcing a flash from House. Void Seeker, Prey Seeker not going to connect, and Titan walks away, as does House.
Well, if that W or that Charm landed, it would have been certain death, but it's just a flash blown for very little. Now Fluxo, they're going to try to cross map on the top side. Envy has no TP. It's a 3v4.
We should be walking away with the tower for this. FNB looks like the only one who really wants to stay, and it means he's isolated under the tower. Dominus comes in, warding off the dive from Fluxo. Double knock-up out of Frosty, but he's isolated on Alistair. Killer Instinct unavailable for Titan as he can't dive the backline. Instead, House jumps forward, not claiming any targets, but finally locking somebody down. Envy trades it back nearly as House goes golden in the middle of the fight. Flash forward from Aegis, and FNB cleans him up. Well, Tay takes down Titan underneath the tower. This fight, Hawk, is a mess, but it's a mess that Fluxo are winning.
Both these teams exchanging punches, blow for blow this game, Dia, as Fluxo, they see their mid laner under fire and bottom, and what do? They immediately punch back in the top lane. House had teleport advantage, and even though all of Red was eventually able to show up, it wasn't fast enough, and that's gonna be Baron going the way of Fluxo, unless a TP comes through. That is FNB wanted to join the fight. Currently a 2v3, but Envy on the way could make it lopsided.
Red-white. Bronze's got a little bit more sustain now, but the Baron goes down first. Jasama securing that and giving up Bronze as a result. FNB is still on the chase, but with Jasamas knocking him back, Jojo stalling things out. Can Fluxo escape alive? House appears once more. Now turning on to Alistair as Frosty goes down, but they're going to be giving up somebody for this. House cannot support with damage forever. Killer Instinct not going to be available, but now that you know that Titan's in the area, it is turn, tail, and run. Fluxo got the Baron, and that's going to have to be enough.
I think it is going to be Dia. They sure give up a couple kills. It's going to delay their Baron push, give a little bit of golden control over to Red. But Baron on 2 members as Ty was still dead. Going to feel very, very good. But this game's still deadlocked in Dia. We have the Soul coming up in 35 seconds, and Bruncie has no summoner spells for this fight. Titan gonna have the flash available. That might just be the difference maker. I need to see Fluxo push these waves so far into Red's territory that they can't even contest this objective.
And this is absolutely the test for Fluxo, who have worked together so marvelously, is can they, in this fight, do it so exceptionally that they keep Bronze safe despite his lack of mobility on Aphelios. He needs to be able to survive and put out damage as he was unable to around Baron. Dragon now spawned, and House tanks just a bit of damage. These Void Seekers going to continue connecting and whittling you down if you're not careful.
So none of the engagers on Red have flash either, so Bruncie needs to play at arm's length and not get caught out, but a single Alistar combo, single Sejuani ult in the face could spell death. Fluxo, they've drawn the line of scrimmage. Here they go.
He's just sketching me out right now. Nature's Grasp comes in, but Bronze instantly gets hit by Sejuani ult. Envy gonna dive on him as well. Bronze having to disengage by Gale forcing out. Dragon is secured by Fluxo. Jasamas picks up the smite, and they got enough. You don't have to fight. You don't have to win. You've just delayed the red win condition.
That's about as well as a fight as Fluxo could have asked for, to be honest. With Bruncie not having flash, Red threw the kitchen sink at him. He stayed alive, and Dasami's clutch on the smite keeps this one close. The Baron power play pretty much moot, so maybe not the advantage Fluxo wanted there. But this game gonna continue. There's nothing else to be said. These two teams are deadlocked.
At this point, it is really a scrap of the ages. Like you said, Baron power play, not even really a power play. And as the last two objectives have now been, so much more of just a denial from Red, keeping Red from being able to leverage the mid game that went so well objective-wise for them until Fluxo have their scaling online. 2 items now on Brunsei. You really want one more on any hyper carry to feel comfortable, but let me remind you that we went into this fight knowing that it was the test of Fluxo, whether they could keep Brunsei alive or not, and Hawk, they absolutely did.
And at this point in the game as well, Dia, we're getting to the part where it is just Brunsei against Titan. FNB and Envy are going to start falling off as Everfrost Ari not going to output the damage, and on the other side, sure, Ty and House are strong, but it's really going to be all about this Aphelios. Whether he lives or dies determines whether your team lives or dies in this game. And Fluxo, they've got their foot on the gas pedal. They're the ones pushing up right now. Lots of control over Red's topside jungle.
Envy and Frosty, absolutely the players to watch when it comes to isolating Brunsei as well. Envy has had his eye on the goal of Brunsei for the past 2 team fights, and when the charms are connecting, it's obviously going the way of Red. Quick clear out of the jungle means that Fluxo stay in control of the top side with 2 minutes left on Baron. This could be crucial for them later on, but right now we are setting the stage for the major team fights that are going to determine the outcome of this game.
With no neutral objectives for 2 minutes, Dia, we might have some time to sit here and podcast for a bit, if you will, as
I love it.
I don't think these teams are going to fight over anything other than a neutral objective. And all the prophecies are coming true. Team fights, team fights, team fights. That has been and will always be the name of the game, not just for these teams, but in this game. The 5-on-5 will determine absolutely everything. And surprisingly enough, Dia, it actually has been Fluxo that's been getting the better of Red in those exchanges. Red, it feels like that's so often been where they've gotten bailed out of their bad situations is with their execution in the 5-on-5. And Fluxo outperforming them in their own theater.
And let me remind you as well that in the pregame we were talking about how notably FNB was absent from a lot of our discussions. This has been the game that really puts him on the map. We already knew that he was one of the best top laners in the league, but now giving us a different look at what he is on Red has looked fantastic on Renekton, and I know that when we come back, 4i4 is going to be very happy with how he's performed on his signature champion. Brunsei is going to be able to get out of this. It's just a little bit of posturing around the bot side, and you'll notice if you look at the minimap in the bottom right of your screen, that the same thing has been mirrored by Red. Both teams just trading minion waves back and forth. As you say, we are setting the stage for Baron that now comes up in 30 seconds.
So I will say, Red does have a pretty significant advantage here, Dia. Baron, obviously both teams want it, and then you've got Soul spawning in a minute 10, putting Fluxo on a little bit of a clock. They might be forced to make a choice around these objectives, a choice that could very much be fatal to them. Red not really under the same pressure. They can afford to give this dragon if need be. See where Fluxo opts to go. I think they know that that's the case, and that is a massive misplay.
Oh no, and that was on Vision too. Red know that this has happened. They don't even have to check the inventories or everything or anything, and for that reason, they're gonna start posturing around this Baron a little bit more. Brunsei is denied crucial safety in this fight, and he's stepping up on top of it. Frosty has an excellent flank engage available to him here, and Fluxo, for that reason, cannot contest the Baron until they get a pick.
Fluxo knows they have to go. Dragon spawning in 25 seconds. They're looking, they're lurking, but Red not grouping up for the AoE. House is marking Envy on the flank, but Red, they're just playing, toying, if you will, with Fluxo now finally going for the disengage as Fluxo strong arms their way in, but the damage might have been done. Soul is here.
Red were forced to move towards the top side of the map, so in large part, they are cut off from the dragon, which is an interesting maneuver out of Fluxo on this, we'll call it pseudo-engage. Aegis is able to get away. Red continue dancing, but now that they move their way towards the bot side, it's going to become yet another tango. Minions being cleared out, and House is unable to actually secure an engage.
Oh, Dia. You know, sometimes when I think about North American League of Legends, I think about A-ramming, and that's what these teams are doing.
Desamas goes on the engage, though. Finally, one gets found on Frosty, who's unable to answer things back. Doesn't get a knockup or anything, but Envy commits forward, finding Tay. Install back from house, keeps him alive. And JoJo tries to commit onto Red, zoning out the two big carries. Envy and Titan kept at bay. Nobody has fallen yet, but so many cooldowns were just expended. Tay's gonna be able to teleport back in on Rumble with Equalizer still available.
See, Dia, it makes me feel right at home. Just as I reference North American League of Legends, they do exactly that. They ARAM, nobody dies, and it's pointless. CBLOL making me a little bit proud. And now it's just going to be a disengage. Both these teams not willing to commit forward. As, I mean, come on, these CBLOL games, at the very least, they most certainly deliver on the excitement far more than any region ever could. As 30 minutes in, these two teams still just pushing each other back and forth, Dia.
Bronze has Flash this time around. Titan has Cleanse, and Titan is playing really aggressively in the river. Fluxo took a bit of a, we'll call it soft reset in the middle of that fight to try and keep themselves on the map for as long as possible, but Red have just completely disengaged. They know that they've won this sort of dance because FNB is able to pop up top and grab another tower, even though no objective has fallen outside of it.
And now the entire focus seems to be on the Dragon Houses, proto-belting forward, as that's a big flash blown. Aegis forced out, Dragon started.
They burn this. They have to burn this now. Aegis doesn't have the gap close to actually be able to secure the Dragon, and just like that, Fluxo perfectly balancing their timing, pick up another objective, keep Red out of the soul, and FNB's not even going to be able to secure this inhibitor tower as a change.
And now FNB might be forced to run away. Fluxo, okay, they're not going to give chase. He will be able to recall, instead prioritizing vision over the Dragon. But even though they gave up over a tower, that is a huge win for Fluxo. Removing the threat of the Dragon mean that they fully can focus on this Baron and be less afraid of starting a fight. I mean, I say that, Dasami's just, you know, Giga Chad flashed in 30 seconds ago, but they've really been cautious about the angles that they're looking for.
JoJo's gonna have to take a reset now as he's got no more control wards to actually make Baron safe anymore. So, as this, once again, soft reset comes in from Fluxo, I can't help but admire how well they've been playing around these neutral objectives. It doesn't look stylish or anything, but Hawk, this has been masterful play from Fluxo to deny Red crucial late-game objectives. Samus goes on the engage. I think he should be okay. There's a teleport flank, though. There's two teleport flanks from Red. Fluxo can't pick a direction, and Envy commits forward. JoJo hits him with a big knockup, though, and a huge shutdown goes to Bronze. It's a pick in the favor of Fluxo. Those double teleports, not as fancy as you'd hope they would be.
Oh, Envy, he teleported right into the Thunderdome right there. The instant CC lockdown. Spirit Rush wasn't able to save him 4v5 on the map, but Titan's damage is really oppressive on this poke, not allowing Fluxo to step in, at the very least, not feeling confident enough. And Dia, it's just a pick.
It is just the singular kill. JoJo's going to try and convert that into a little bit more by, you guessed it, playing the vision game that Fluxo have been playing for so long. 3 minutes until the next Dragon, and I think I'm crazy for saying this, Hawk, but we genuinely might see the next Dragon taken before the Baron is ever started.
It's honestly entirely possible. We're already less than 3 minutes away from that objective. I mean, this game has just been... what's the biggest gold advantage we've had this game? Like, that's an honest question. Has it been any more than, like, 2,500?
No, this has been extraordinarily close from both teams, as we say. Red also playing this really well, and it all comes down here to Aegis. Remember, we knew that Titan was going to determine the outcome of this game, but Aegis has to be facilitating the team as a jungler, something that he has been adapting to, struggling to commit with all split. On Sejuani, he's been playing disengage so far, backing away from the engage of Fluxo, so much so that Bronze is walking up to his face.
And Dia, critical summoner spell going to come off cooldown very soon. Titan, that flash going to come back up. Flash on these 80 carries, all important. And another critical cooldown instantly blown away. Fluxo's done a really great job of just teasing cooldowns off of Red and weakening their teamfight power.
House is doing really well on these non-committal engages at the same time. His ults have been really perfect to keep Red from feeling comfortable engaging, as well as the fact that he's able to jump in on the side, throw out tangle barbs every now and then, and force Red to, as you say, maybe blow a flash, maybe just expend a cooldown that could be used to get onto your carry to jump away instead. We keep counting down, now a minute and a half, even less than that, on the next dragon, and Fluxo, they have the chance to put themselves on soul point here, and that's to say nothing of what a triple infernal stack means in the first place.
Dia, can I just say that games like this are why everyone should be watching the CBLOL? Like,
I
these
love the
two
CBLOL.
teams just playing with nothing held back. It's such a treat to be able to watch this League of Legends. Look, it may not always be the absolute peak of gameplay, but is most certainly the peak of entertainment. Red and Fluxo absolutely delivering in the first game of Week 7. And what a delight it has been every single weekend to watch these teams play. And now we might just see the game flipped right here.
FNB on the flank pops Dominus, but can't get into the pit in time. Desamus secures the smite, and now FNB's isolated, but Titan joins him, flashing straight into House's Pop Blossom! Titan will be slain, an equalizer, taking him down on the exit, but now, as you say, Pruncy's gone down, and there's no damage left. House is going to have to support from the backline. FNB and Aegis still trying to commit forward. Envy securing a charm on Jojo should take him out, but House continues trading back damage. Tag's trying to get away from Aegis. One shield to do it. Tay gets the extra shield, gets away from Seshwati, and Fluxo are going to pick up an ace on the exit.
Aegis will die in an ace at the end of all of that. Both AD carries getting focused by each team. But it's Fluxo that has more damage in the composition to sustain through the fight. In Dia, I think they're going to be able to deny Soul one more time as well. Let's look again. It's FNB on the flank with Titan getting onto Bruncy, but he Gale Forces backwards, dumps all of his damage. And so even though he dies, Bruncy bought a lot of time and still did so much work for his team. Meanwhile, the rest of Fluxo kites back as a unit and has the damage to get through it. FNB drops, Envy drops in an incredibly close engagement. Fluxo yet again finds a win.
And it is such a contrast between the styles of these compositions as well. You can't feel comfortable jumping into Fluxo. FNB engages on the AD carry. This should be the perfect situation, as Titan's then able to Killer Instinct straight onto Bronze, but he's Killer Instincting straight into a Pop Blossom that's layered then with an Equalizer. Titan expends Flash and Cleanse to try and get out of there alive, and simply can't do it. These AD carries, they don't have any safety, whether it be Bronze, whether it be Titan. The only thing that's certain is that one, if not both of them, are dying.
And now this most certainly has to be the biggest gold lead all game. Getting to the point in the game, by the way, where gold going to matter less and less. Both AD carries approaching full build. Bruncy working on a Guardian Angel sees, but whoa, House just died. That is huge.
I did not expect that. Titan really making the difference with a clean pick on House. It's going to force the rest of Fluxo to back off, knowing that they can't take any subsequent fight, even with Tay's teleport being up. As you said, gold not meaning a lot here.
No, I mean, that's going to completely stop the Baron push, though. And Dia, I think we're just going to go towards another neutral objective setup. This game has gotten to the point where we are now going to see the 7th dragon of the game, the most that you can get, both teams at 3 apiece. We might even, dare I say, get a 3rd Baron, as it is spawning at the exact same time. 3 minutes from now, it's going to be another neutral objective 5v5.
Credit to Red for playing this as they have as well. It has been an extraordinarily close game, and Fluxo are not having the easiest time of closing this out in a 2-0 fashion. We'll take another look at how this happened, this time from Titan's perspective.
Kaisa Gaming. That's all I have to say about
indeed.
that. I mean, Void Seeker lands, and the follow-up is good.
Hopefully going to be able to do that a few more times throughout the course of this game because he needs to, but
Oh,
instead it's Brunse! Brunse's killer instincts changes the game. Gale Force into utter decimation takes out Titan, and this may very well have ended the game. FNB's chunked to quarter HP. Brunse is absolutely online as late game Aphelios, and without Titan, I don't think you can step up to him.
Can Fluxo win? Honest question. Titan being down for 40 seconds. He's the main damage on this team. There might be a world where you can just dive. You've got another minion. Conga lighting up mid lane. Fluxo, is this how you end the game? Off of the back of Brunse's pick.
There's no Baron buff available for them, but Tay's Equalizer certainly is. To try and clear out a few of these minions. Out is going to go the Nature's Grasp, locking up to, forcing Dominus as Fluxo dance around Red. Envy half HP gets ulted on, but manages to survive with an ultimate of his own, and Fluxo are unable to end the game, but it was on a razor's edge, Hawk.
I really like that attempt, though, from Fluxo to try to end the game. Brunse making a massive play, having the confidence with very little information. Gale forcing forward, no care in the world. Thinking he might have a game-winning play, but with nothing else to fight for, Fluxo, they may as well have tried. They failed, but they at least got an inhibitor, and now, with those big neutral objectives only a minute away, look at the items. Brunse, full on everything. All summoners available, same for Titan. The only thing separating them is a Guardian Angel. Both these AD carries, which one can come out on top in what should be the final fight?
And when everything's on the table, when every cooldown is available, it's a hands check. Red have so often won hands checks in the CBLOL. Now, with a flank out of FNB, Aegis will connect with ultimate, and Envy jumps onto Tay, forcing a Zhonya's Hourglass. Redder again pushed back to Samus, playing this front line marvelously to keep the rest of Fluxo safe.
And the only ultimate that was burned was the Nature's Grasp from Fluxo. On the other side, that's Flash and 3 ultis denied from Red. But the Kaisa poke is immense. Jojo getting low. Fluxo, they're gonna start the Baron anyway. They know they have the cooldown advantage, but you have to be clutch on this smite.
Titan's gonna commit onto Tay, no Zhonya's for him, and now Jojo's in the line of fire. Baron has been stopped, but Brunse is isolated with FNB and Aegis. He is mowing through them. Brunse does too much damage, and now in house, picking up the double knockup. Looks like Fluxo are dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and taking out Red for a second time this split.
Brunse's popping off in the player cam, and Fluxo's gonna do it. Envy, the only one alive, but not for long, as Ty with the teleport will burn him away. But regardless of the outcome of this 1v1, this game, 41 minutes in, it's not a Red magic trick, it's a Fluxo upset.
Tay picks up the kill, the ace comes through. I was wondering what barbecued kitsune would taste like, and I get the feeling that Fluxo absolutely know. They got that. They got the red Canids.